Hey, it's Ciarán talking at the beginning of the episode. As you've been able to tell from the title, this is an unlocked Patreon episode. And this episode is about me and Rob going through the various donors to the German branch of the Volt Party. Some trends, what they kind of mean, what Volt means. I think it's a good episode, and we're pretty happy to unlock this right before the election, because I thought it'd be a fun thing to discuss. If people want more Volt chat, there is still up on the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/corner Späti. We do have like a 3.5 hour stream of me with the chat researching predominantly the Dutch wing of the party, and also just kind of waxing lyrical about what Volt means, what they kind of stand for, their actual role within liberal bourgeois democracy. It's very, it's fun. I got to use the term vague links, which I still love that word. I think it's technically vague links. I don't know how to pronounce Dutch. Anyway, it was a good time. Weird that people actually wanted to watch that live and interact with that. But, I'm not here to judge. I had fun doing it. People had fun watching it. So, thumbs up all around. Also to say, sorry, that just before the election that we are releasing, as our main episode, an unlocked Patreon episode, with personal life and the upcoming live show, and the election in general, we're pretty fucking beat, a lot of us. Don't worry, after the election we have regular Corner Späti stuff planned, including shit about, Scandinavia, which has been going off lately, doing some wild stuff, which will be fun. And, yeah. Thank you to all the patrons who have been donating to us lately. This is without this stuff is possible, and I'm sorry that we're kind of giving away some of the extra bonus stuff to the regular people. But if you like what you hear, donate to the patron, and we can make it happen. Also worth mentioning at this point that one of the other things that we have lined that we're kind of planning is getting regular studio space for us, which again the Patreon people have helped make possible. With that, we should be able to make better content more regularly and see the four of ourselves in person, which will be good because we can do things that we've wanted to do for a while, like the Cyberpunk 2020 campaign. Anyway, with all of that said, I should also promo that we do have a live show coming up soon. From 5:30 until late on the 26th of September, the day of the German election, we will be doing a live show with our good friends over at Späti. So Michelle and Ted will be joining us on stage to go through the results as they happen, talk about some things, play some games, dumb stuff like that. Should be a lot of fun. You can head on down to Donau Straße 115 to the jazz bar Donau 115. And that's in Berlin and Neukölln. If you're not in Berlin or Germany or whatever, or not going to be there in person, we should hopefully be live streaming it at twitch.tv/corner Späti. Without any further ado, here is the unlock bonus episode about the gosh darn spreadsheet. Hey, welcome to your weekly Corner Späti. It's the Polish coalition again. I'm just going to keep saying the name until it becomes a thing. Until someone suggests something better, I think. Mm-hmm. I was at a work event recently, and I realized that I really have the whole podcaster stand-up problem where if there is just like a moments of silence, I will fill it with absolute nonsense. just like keep talking. That's the gig, Ciarán. Keep going, dance monkey dance. So
we should probably announce that we are running for Volt Poland. The two of us, we are the co-lead candidates.
Dude, there's even more weird esoteric bullshit that we can get into. Holy fuck. Okay, I'm gonna introduce some of it. I've been okay.
wait. Let's state the premise first. Hello, everyone.
Yeah. Hi. This is Corner Späti. It's a podcast.
Those big German elections are coming up. A couple weeks away. It's officially September. So we figured we should talk about some election news. And quite conveniently, Ciarán has been... it's like the movie Crank, but Ciarán has to read about people who donated $10,000 to the political party Volt to stay alive.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So what a happy confluence of events. Ciarán, what's going on with this political party Volt?
Oh, jeez. What's going on? Okay, so many things. So, if people who tuned in for my birthday live stream, you might have caught a glimpse of the spreadsheet, the terrifying document that I keep.
That makes sense because, like, in a lot of like fantasy genres, the only thing that can defeat the enemy is something born of the enemy. So I feel like a weaponized spreadsheet is exactly what could take these fuckers down.
The thing that will to... Oh god, I can't. Okay, how do I even fucking start? So the thing with the spreadsheet is that I made this spreadsheet back for the 2019 episode that we did on Volt after they elected Damian Hieronymus Johannes Freiherr von Buselager, a full name that I've now memorized. And it's great because I've been updating that spreadsheet, and a lot of the stuff that's originally in that spreadsheet they've taken down. So that's like a fun thing as well. But at the moment, I'm currently trying to do... I'm reading reports on how to do like open source intelligence shit, like Bellingcat stuff to figure out connections and try find this stuff. But like, it's really corrupt, man. The whole thing seems fucking awful.
Just to clarify, so Volt has one of their pillars or something is like transparency with funding, or is that just transparency in general? Transparency in general, and they're doing a lead by example. So they would list. You know better the campaign finance rules, but they list donors over a certain amount on their websites, which you have written down and put into a spreadsheet. That these lists of donors have now disappeared from the websites of the various regions. Some of them. Volts. Okay, so I will explain the issue with Volt's transparency issue, or the transparency discussion. Yes, the general rule as dictated by Volt Europa, the top head of the like whole hydra that is Volt, is that donations over 3,000 should be donated, should be listed what the name is, blah blah blah. They've also recently, or not recently, but at least since 2019, have added the caveat of if you do not want your name listed after donating this amount of money, we will return the donation, which is interesting. I'll mention a problem with that later. This seems kind of nice, but the issue with that is that there's a couple of different things. First of all, for anyone who was a decent journalist, you could probably have found out this stuff anyway due to various like government records and whatnot. Parties in a lot of European countries are held to like these kind of standards or similar standards. The second is that 3,000 isn't like actually a great cutoff point. I mean, the whole point of this was so that, particularly in 2019, I don't know if this has changed, but in 2019, they really used the language of like progressive campaigns that we were seeing in the US, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders, of like, it's small donations, it's grassroots, it's crowdfunded and stuff like that, right? Right. Which is... And Mr. McKinsey himself said, I want some of that AOC grassroots money. That's how he sounds. That's how the head of
big cigar.
Give me some of that AOC, some of those AOC vibes, as the kids say.
Yeah, pinstripe suit. He's like a secondary background character in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. The issue with that is that it's like not really how those campaigns worked. For example, in most of those campaigns in the US, there's usually like a limit of like $50 to $100 as like for any single donation, which Volt does not have at all. And also more importantly, does not accept donations from companies, which Volt does a lot, and we can get into that. The next thing about how they kind of like obscure this whole transparency thing is you have to visit each Volt website, like for each branch, because not only is there Volt Europa, there's Volt Deutschland, Volt Italia, Volt Netherlands, all that kind of stuff, to see all the donations. And a lot of places are just not listing them. For example, Italy does not list their donations anymore. Volt Italia moved their donations they'd received I think 2019 or beginning of 2020 to a domain that's not linked anywhere, but it is listed. So if you Google it, you'll find it. It's like voltitalia.org/donations old or something like that. Not linked anywhere on the website, and by Google it and you will find it, I mean you will find it if you're able to copy and paste the exact text that you found on the old website, which I still had, and also the Wayback Machine still has. Not super transparent. But those donations are still up there, including ones from like Lupo Rattatazi, who's like a member of the Agnelli family, who like basically owns everything. They're the Fiat family, like Fiat Chrysler. They donated something like $35,000 to the Italian branch. Anyway,
sure, why not?
Yeah, sure, fuck it. So that's one of the ways they obscure things. Another way they obscure things is some of the local chapters are not listing any donations. I largely think this is because some local chapters have not received any donations. Out of the
you should name some names. Who is not loved in the Volt world?
So out of the, let's see how many they have. Out of the 31 chapters that they have like listed on their website, national chapters, I should say, the only places listing donations are the European Party, the umbrella group for Europe. Germany, Italy, and the Netherlands. That's it. The big one missing there is Volt Bulgaria is not listing their donations. And I think they've probably received donations because they've managed to run on the national election, although with other parties. And they also have 3 local councillors elected.
Oh.
Which,
right.
Yeah. None of the other chapters, I need to investigate what's going on with Portugal, but like a lot of these national chapters don't even have websites. They have Facebook pages at best, but they're still listed on the website. Yeah, so that's
it sounds
kind
to
of
me
like
that
how
these
they obscure
local
things.
these Volts are just like adopting the style of politics. You're telling me Volt Italia, if they want to be taken seriously as an Italian political party, don't talk about who's giving you money. And take donations from Fiat.
Yep. Volt Bulgaria just deny any allegations of possible corruption or donations. Okay, to be fair, I get the impression that if I send an email to them in Bulgaria and ask them for donations that have been made to Volt Bulgaria, they will possibly give me an answer. I'm going to pursue that. If you speak Bulgarian, talk to me. I might need a proofreader.
But in general, I like the idea that you are like a 7th century Catholic priest, like against the sands of time, like keeping track of this great empire that was the nascent pan-European movement. They'll be thankful for you in the future. You know, they're gonna want to watch this when they're older.
Yeah. So my current the threads that I'm pulling at currently is I'm finding the LinkedIn of everyone who's donated and also going to gather the LinkedIn of major members of Volt. And then I have some tools to figure out if there's any major connections between those things that are not being said. Yeah, but at this point, I'm pretty happy I've sufficiently researched everyone who's donated to the German branch of the party, as well as I also think the European branch, because there was only a handful of people who've donated to the EU.
So let's stick to Germany for now, because that is the topic at hand. How would you characterize the donors to German Volt?
The political wing of the July 20th coup. That was probably how I would define it.
Funny how they Volt is their horse they're backing. That's Volt is change we need for 1944 and onwards.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay, so where do we even start with this? There's a couple of different wings. I don't want to do, but let's talk about the fawns first. The fawns are the big ones. So not the fawns from Happy Days, but like VON. You have like from in your last name. You are the descendant of German nobility. Mm-hmm. To any Volt people hate listening who've criticized our podcast for mentioning this in the past, there's such a thing as generational wealth. Yes, Germany doesn't have an official nobility anymore, but they still own fuck tons of land and money. If you don't have an understanding of generational wealth, you will not be able to do jack shit about racism. So get out my fucking mentions. Anyway.
Well, it's also unclear what exactly racism or anti-racism means, because Volt, like one of their platform, one of the pillars of their platform, according to me, is social values, which says anti-sexism, anti-racism, pro-LGBTQ.
Yeah.
So, but what does that mean to Volt? Especially on a European level, it seems to be like, I mean, okay, so they're out of power now, but like saying like a law passed in Hungary or Poland is bad. I have no idea what they might mean by anti-sexism. I guess that means, there should be, they'll probably have equal numbers of men and women in their elected representatives, or at least that's something they might say.
That's something they do.
Beyond
try
that,
to do, yeah.
I mean, is there any sign of, or perhaps anything that counter or contradicts these stated values? I'll leave it at that.
I mean, the big one would be that. So also, Ciarán's favorite thing is like Volomat and Vote Swiper and shit like that, where they're like stated opinions about certain things. Since they're big believers in technology and social media, they're very avid participants in things like Vote Swiper and Volomat and like which party should you vote for type of thing. They'll fill in all the answers to all the questions, which is great. Because then we did this before when we did the Dutch update. And they started like stating batshit opinions like we back NATO for innovation reasons, or that tickled NATO, you particularly.
Anything you could say about it. It is innovative. It's at the cutting edge of world police.
We innovated a way to airlift some people out of Kabul, I guess.
Innovation is all about deciding, who should get out of Afghanistan and what you can leave behind.
Yeah, right. The other side of that would be that so yeah, they've started specifying stuff here, and there's also disagreements. For example, let's see. Where did I find this before? I have a big list of the stuff that I find from their thing. So in terms of racism, there's topics of like, the big question that comes up in like German things is, should we send back non-residents or like non-Germans, basically non-citizens who've committed crimes? To which Volt Berlin says no, we shouldn't. We shouldn't do that. We shouldn't send them back. Volt Baden-Württemberg says yes, which sure.
I guess that's what European federalism means, I guess.
I have a much better example of the like fucking racism. Volt Berlin is still in favor of random checks in crime-ridden areas.
Okay, all right. Now I'm vibing with this. Like this, I think does paint who Volt is, because there needs to be, like deporting someone who committed a crime is a somewhat abstract. Like it's obviously not, but to someone like to Volt members coming up with their policy platform, I could see them saying, yeah, that's something we can do. But when these motherfuckers are walking to work and they see someone asking for money, I imagine they get it and they draft an email saying the situation on Sonnenallee is dangerous and threatens my ability to live in this city.
But getting back to the Fonz, I'm going to get back to the Fonz real quick because I need to explain this corner of where the German Volt Deutschland money is coming from, because it leads somewhere, I guess. So the classic one that I think we've talked about a couple of times that I definitely dropped on Twitter is Klaus von Lupe, who is the father of Paul Lupe, who's dropped the von, who is running in Berlin. He's also, if I'm not mistaken, he's like a policy lead. Paul von Lupe is co-president of Volt Germany. He's a big face. He's running
in the Volt language. It's called wonk. The head wonk.
He's running in Pankow. He has on his LinkedIn now that he's a community organizer, which I'm like, dude, fuck off.
Yes. But that's perfect. That's what you're supposed to be. I'm organizing my community. That's like, that is the like, it is a flexible enough term that, you know, I'm sure there's people who call themselves community organizers who are actually organizing a community for, you know, I guess organization has to imply that you're developing like decision making, coordination, power structures within a community, which I guess is democratic, you know, outside of the typical channels of power. But your community can also be like, yeah, me and my friends in my Discord where we complain about Nazbols and tankies. That's a community.
Yeah, that sure, absolutely.
And organizing them means if they like my posts and rich people give me money.
Yeah,
looking
so
real organized right now.
When I mentioned on Twitter, he got into my mentions. When I mentioned on Twitter that his dad, it's donated
messaging Ciarán on Twitter, messaging a Nazbol tanky like Ciarán is organizing.
Did I tell you about the fact that people in Volt's Discord thought that we were like a pro-Donetsk People's Republic podcast? Because of
why?
Because the colors on the crest on our logo of the flag is the Donetsk People's Republic flag, I guess.
Ciarán, have you been putting hidden messages into our? I mean, I don't know, when you design things, I just assume you know, they look pretty. I don't ask questions.
There's actually, I did decide those colors being on like mostly, okay, anarchism, communism, and I guess blue represents Europe in like the EU flag / the Olympics. But beyond
that's also
that, it was
why the
just
Donetsk People's Republic picked those colors.
Yeah, yeah, they're the problematic fave. But let's see. But yeah, Klaus von Lupe is your classic example. Paul got in my mentions until when he said that the reading the Volt Berlin read their manifesto as slam poetry and put that up on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I pointed out that this was cringe on Twitter. Paul was like, no, it looks really cool. And then I just quote tweeted it being like, did the slam poetry convince your dad to donate another 34,000 euro? Because Klaus
that is
von
the
Lupe,
question. Is his dad proud of the slam poetry, or does he think it's dumb? These are the questions
answer the question.
The potential voters want to know.
Answer the question, Paul. Yeah, and they're being shady about it because Klaus von Lupe has like donated via his own name, but also via a company he owns called Procuda GmbH. Which
say that again, Bermuda?
No, Procuda.
Oh, Procuda. So
Yeah, Procudo. I think it's gone under since, and I don't think it really did anything. Klaus von Luper is managing director of hannoverfinanz.de. Yeah, Niedersachsen figures a lot into this. The other big fawns are Ludwig John Patrick Graf Douglas and Leopold Hubertus Graf Douglas, the two brothers of a successful art dealer, Christoph Archibald Ludwig Friedrich Graf Douglas, who, between the two of them, have donated $20,000 to the party. Okay. They own a big castle that they now operate as like a work retreat, a golfing kind co-working of thing. Space. Yeah, room. Sure.
They should have escape rooms in those castles. Now that'd be a good use of the money.
Yeah, right. There's some other like big name fawns and vans and stuff like that that are all just like incredibly rich. Wolfgang van der Kirchhoff seems to be donated in 2019 because his son was posting about it in 2019. That's all I can really find around that.
All I see are supportive fathers.
Yeah. He donated $10,000. Nope. Wait, $15,000. Yeah,
Volt is a party about your dad saying to his friends, I was a little worried about him, but actually he seems to be turning his life around. He's really into this. I'm just happy to see him out of the house. And by out of the house, I mean he goes once a week to the local Volt meetup and then back to the basement.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Then the thing that wraps up together the fawn wing of all this, from which Damien comes, is a donation made by one Petra Flor. She was one of the earliest donors to the party, only donated €5,000, but I still felt the need to figure out who this person was. She's the chair of the Protestant Church Council in Gestorf, which is just outside of Hanover, in Lower Saxony. Unsurprising, her daughter is the head of the list for Lower Saxony, one Caro Flor. I don't like her chances, but sure, they're supportive parents. But I was able to find Petra's email address and noticed it had a weird domain name that it wasn't like an @Gmail or @Hotmail or whatever.
Was it at her name?
No, that would have been cooler, I guess. It was a weird abbreviation, but when I reverse Googled it, I came across this website, which I'm just going to send to you now. And I think this is the big fawn connection.
This is, by the fawn connection, you mean like where they all get together, like the annual fawn summit in Germany?
Yeah, so I found that the Flor family work with the von Richthofen family in as property managers for German noble estates. And also, in what should ring alarm bells in anyone who's familiar with the recent German political history, has been operating since the year 1989.
Of course. When we could finally get business done again.
Yeah. There's a lot of noble estates opened up, boys.
Yeah, wait, so what does that mean? So these are former noble estates, or all of the nobles, like what estates do they own? Do the nobles not own their own estates?
So the problem with letting your nobility exist in European countries that effectively don't have a use for them anymore, like this is different for the UK, but Ireland is somewhat similar. Countries that got rid of any kind of vestiges of royalty, right? The nobility is allowed to stick around because we can't have anything nice. But they don't really receive tithes anymore from the peasants. So they're usually, after enough time, stuck for income. The most common solution has been commodifying their land in some capacity, all the land which they still own. So yes, they're still technically the owners of it, but they'll rent out a couple of the houses for work meetups. They'll turn them into golf courses. They turn them into museums if the building's old enough.
Destination
that kind of thing.
wedding places.
Yeah, destination wedding. You can hunt on their land. And this is what this company facilitates.
Okay.
They're the managers.
You said that there aren't tithes anymore, but it does seem to me that like anyone who donates to Volt who is not a fun is giving a tithe to the German aristocracy.
Yeah, pretty much. The next category we have are the tech weirdos. And Volt is big on Digitalisierung. They're, the big face of the party or whatever. And that's kind of like, oh, we're modern, we're young. So that naturally enough attracts people like, let me see if I can find it. Yeah. Julian Teike, who owns and is the founder of one of Germany and Europe's biggest fintech startup, WeFox, which weirdly enough also has basically the exact same logo as Volt.
Okay.
Yeah, that's WeFox. Just because WeFox. It's for managing insurance, but on your phone. So that's
okay.
Nice.
Sure.
Yeah. He donated 20K to the party. Yeah, so that's kind of like, he's the kind of pinnacle example. He's been registered as personally lobbying Damien von Buzelaga, and has also done what I believe has been referred to as a lunch conference with him, where they talk about tech stuff and I guess what Julian needs for his weird fintech company to succeed.
Yeah, according to Bill Gates, that's also what he was meeting Jeffrey Epstein for. They were just lunch conferences, just shooting the shit over some paninis.
Yeah. The last category, so there's like a couple of others like this who are just like they own or run like a tech company to a certain extent. However, a lot of those people are also just like from money. As well, so that's a whole other part of it. What I want to mention before I bring in the last group, which is Karl Anders GmbH. Karl Anders is a design agency from Hamburg, and
of course,
they were the ones hired to do Volt's branding, which I was surprised to learn because I, as a graphic designer, look at Volt's branding and felt like there wasn't a major agency behind that. And I'm going to be humble here for a second and say, Karl Anders, I've looked at the rest of your portfolio. This is not good work. You do better than this. I've seen it. It's quite good.
Okay, so what happened with Volt then?
So the interesting thing about that is around the time the campaign launched and the articles were coming out in like German design publications of like, look at the new work from agency Karl Anders in Hamburg. They donated about 9,000. They made two donations of 9,280 euro to Volt. So they either did this pro bono or with like a massive reduction, and also in a way that allows you to like move money around rather than just saying we'll do it for free or we'll do it on reduction. That's very dodgy. Also, one of the lead Volt politicians in Hamburg back when they were doing their state elections has one of the same last names as one of the managing directors of Karl Anders. I can't quite prove if they're related just yet, but she did study graphic design in Kiel University in Schleswig-Holstein around the same time he was going to like secondary school in Kiel, Schleswig-Holstein.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right, I'll table that one. Just to give
yeah,
Volt
we'll
some
table that
credit.
one because I don't have a definitive link for that one yet. But then that's just like one special one that I wanted to draw attention to. The last group of Volt people are, and I think probably one of the most interesting people who have bought their way into the party.
Of course, if you've never taken a Code Academy course and you don't happen to come from a formerly aristocratic family, there is still a place for you in Volt.
Yep. So big ones are like Arne Backhouse, who's donated almost 10K in a bunch of separate donations now. He ran for Munich Council, didn't succeed. He made his first donation before running for the party, but sure. Other good example would be Felix Kautz, who ran for Volt Offenbach. And he's still running for Volt Offenbach for the federal 2021 election. He has donated a cool 6K to the party. But my personal favorite, dear to my heart, is Frank Fremere. I really don't know how to pronounce the last name. It doesn't look German to me, but still. Frank Fremere, I love because he has 2 LinkedIns. He has 2 separate LinkedIns that he is maintaining.
All hustlers do. Go ahead.
Yep. One is, I've been, self-employed all my life, but now I'm working for Volt. And his profile picture is him in the Volt hoodie and all smiley. The banner image is like the Volt logo with the stars around it. It's all very nice. His second LinkedIn is his business LinkedIn, which has got a black and white photo, him looking serious. We get into what he means by self-employed, which is he's been just trying his hand at a bunch of different things. He tried his hand as a photographer for events. They're not good. He tried his hands at writing a book, which I believe I'm just going to have to read this now because it's very funny. If I can find... Oh, no, I have a better way of finding it than that. Okay. So in LinkedIn, he has a book author, self-employed, from March 2015 to present, so 6 years, 6 months. I taught myself writing books. Got that now, full stop. Now I'm finishing one book after the other until it gets boring.
This is how you know that he has Volt grind set.
Oh yeah,
this is how you write books. A lot of people out there ask, "Wow, I wish I could write a book. How do I do it?" You just write one, and then you finish it, and then you write another one.
Yep. So the first to be finished is on the future medicine, humans as ecosystems. All right. First to start and second to finish is on sustainability, biodiversity, and global responsibility. At this point, I should reveal he also had a company, quote unquote, it was never registered, called Klimafarm, which is just a WordPress website. But yeah, there's nothing on official registries for businesses about it being actually registered as him as managing director or anything like that. Anyway,
Klimafarm seems to just be his blog.
Yeah, he tried to make it a business. Anyway. Hang on, and here's the rub. So, sustainability, biodiversity, and global responsibility. Okay, the third will be a sex tutorial. End of sentence. Fourth will be on technology, connecting current science to Meister Eckhart. Fifth will be a tutorial on photography after my first million shots. I'm so happy to write! !
He's got a lot of tutorials. I guess he wants to share his many skills with I guess Volt members.
Yeah,
he wants to, if you climb up high enough in the party, it can be required reading to read Frank Fremere's sex tutorial book.
Yeah, he's currently the manager for the Volt Parliamentary Group in Bonn City Council, where I believe they have 2 people elected. He's donated €11,000, and for anyone,
those are rookie numbers. If you want it to be mandatory reading for all young Volters.
Sorry, 14,000.
Europa Sutra. You got 300,000 at least. Come on.
14,000.
This is a game.
And also the business Frank LinkedIn reveals that what he actually does, which is he's a landlord for about 12.
Oh, what a shock. You mean this guy who spent his entire life being like, I'm going to take 1 million photos and then write a book about it. Like, drained of any why are you taking 1 million shots? It seems to be so you can write a book about it. Like, he's filling himself with, the stuff of life only so that he can post it on his LinkedIn.
Yeah, he's genuinely idle rich. It's very fun.
which does connect him back to the aristocrats, right? Like idle rich who need something to do, be like, I'm gonna get into this politics stuff, or get my dumb kids who probably like not the son who's like taking over working for the business, working with the event coordinators to use the old estates for some fox hunting. He needs something to do, so he should join Volt.
I can't find any evidence of this money arriving that allowed him to own like 12 apartments in Bonn. So he either inherited money or he inherited the apartments.
Owning like 12 apartments in a city is an extremely upper middle class German vibe. That's what they do. Yeah. That's like a go-to, like, a taste that is a tasteful number of apartments to own.
So the one that I found just before we sat down to record, there's some very funny ones. There's like a guy who started like a social media website for
I thought authors. You meant his apartments. I thought we were going to get some walkthroughs.
No, I mean, he has some of his pictures on LinkedIn. They all look kind of fine or whatever. We have like
if
people.
If this guy's
like,
your landlord, please message Ciarán. Maybe you can make some posts on Immobilien Scout. See if anyone replies.
Could scrape Immobilien Scout for his name, I guess. But there's people like funny characters like Wilhelm Ustrin, who's like the son of a famous like publisher from Hamburg called Sandra Ustrin.
Okay.
I don't
the Fail
think
Son
that's
Empire continues. Who knew Fail Sons and Daughters came in so many shapes and colors? It really is the all the colors of the rainbow, the beauty of life.
He did start, to give him credit, he did start a social media for authors called Autorenwelt.
Is that credit? That's exactly what failed children do. A social media for authors?
Yeah. Autorenwelt, all right, which as far as I can tell on LinkedIn employs 3 people, including him.
Let's go.
So that's the amount you need to operate a successful social media. It seems to be like a WordPress website. Again,
this is incredible. So every layer, they're just more and more like the Volt of like what Volt is to political parties. Like a strange facsimile of the whole process that's like in the uncanny valley of political organization. Like you see how horrible it's like turning the lights on at this like, bizarre dance that we call, liberal politics under liberal democracy. That's what they're doing for companies. Like, no, all companies are like this. These are just like small, grotesque versions of what the big, actually powerful companies do. It's just 3 people doing an Autorenwelt. It's when your landlord comes by and drops his book on how the population is too big into your mailbox every day. Yeah.
So, fun way that this beautiful he's a Munich boy, by the way. He really loves Munich. His Twitter Twitter header image is just Munich.
The most Volt cities are being mentioned here. Bonn.
Oh yeah, Vessi shit. Vessi shit. Is that what you mean?
Munich. Yeah, I guess that's what I mean.
Yeah, because
I've never been to Bonn, but it seems like a Volt capital.
Yeah, they're doing quite well in NRV in general. But They also had that leaked internal document that one Dutch crank journalist who seems also be on the Volt beat found, which was like, how do we make ourselves more successful in Eastern Europe? No one in Eastern Europe seems to like us. And it's like, sure. Because we're not, I don't know, they're not going to fall for it again, I guess. You got
to hook up with some aristocrats in Eastern Europe, you know?
Yeah, get the Bulgarian Tsar back. But anyway, yeah, our boy Willy Uštrin. Oh, sorry, he donated 9K because he also donated through his company Autorenwelt GmbH and also as an individual.
You can't donate.
I'm not reading my own spreadsheet correctly. I'm sorry. He's donated 9K.
Okay.
Yeah. He promotes his author website on his Instagram by doing exercises with books instead of weights. Do you want me to link you this? Yes. Do you want me to link you this?
Please link to that.
It's a good Instagram.
Wow.
We love ourselves a book twink.
People think that you can't get yoked just from lifting books, but you can.
You apparently can.
Oh, look at this. Am I doing this right? You're not, dude. That looks bad.
You have to scroll down a bit for the good stuff, I think. Him and what looks like on his toilet, but like not using it, with like a bag full of books as a weight. It's a lot of good fun. Anyway, he's not the last one I wanted to talk about because I'm sorry, I just keep looking at a name and getting reminded of something else that happened that I found while searching. Anyway, yeah. So
I had no idea of just how much Volt was tied to the literal former petty nobility and the modern, or I should say contemporary petty nobility that is formed from being a tech dipshit with too much time and money on their hands, or just being a landlord who's you can, in the same way that you could buy a title somewhere if you had enough money. They can do that today with just the right. If you look like you have enough free time and have no social connections to get you into any of the other linked up to any capital flows.
Yeah.
Just you get into politics. You get into it's funny you mentioned the Bulgarian czar because he's tied in. He's at the high enough level of the former aristocracy that you just become you enter the top levels of managing capitalism today. But all the petty nobility, they don't have a role, and so they're literally just the fail offspring of European empire, and they got to do something. I'm interested in this new terrifying petty bourgeois being formed by a combination of former nobility with the PMCs. That's the thing. I don't even know if petty bourgeois is the right term because Volt is never going to have a majority, lead a coalition. I guess I shouldn't speak in absolutes, but it literally seems to exist to collect the the hair, the skimmer that collects the hair at the bottom of your shower to just pad out any actual majority of, let's say, a capitalist party that is actually going to manage, the bureaucracy necessary to keep capitalism going today. It's literally just the fluff. You exist there as a sinecure of it's like sitting in a beanbag chair in the room where the decisions are made. You have a cool fidget spinner.
Yeah. Okay. Two last things I'm going to mention. One about a donor, one about the founders. So, last thing about the donors. The last guy in the list who just recently, as of the 4th of August 2021, donated 6K to the party is Johannes Lachmann, who runs a company called Westfalen Wind, or Westfalen Wind. It's a weird green middleman kind of company that exists in Paderborn. However, when I searched Johannes Lachmann, Volt, I uncovered a low-key Volt scandal that I don't think anyone outside of fucking Paderborn has talked about.
Never meet your heroes. Not everyone's perfect. Even Volt has
I know, right? I know. So Volt managed to elect one person, I believe, to the council of Paderborn. That was a Varani Kratom, who's of Turkish descent. And they also had their leader, one guy called Hertman, I believe. Anyway, they started packing the local council with Westhafen Wind staff. And that became a scandal. Where other parties, I think they also had someone who was a Freie Wähler who switched to Volt, which feels very up your alley, Rob.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. The crank merry-go-round keeps going.
Yeah.
Volt is very attractive. Have you considered Volt today? That's honestly, $6,000 to get into the Volt on the ground floor is not bad. If you have that kind of money lying around, just get in. Make a donation. Yeah. It's like putting odds down on a 50-1 championship run. You know.
So the fun
when
thing
they make it big, you'll have a little spot. On the Volt,
about that
banana boat.
The fun thing about that, Rob, is that Johannes Lachmann, in his infinite wisdom of PR and what will look good to the public, made this €6,000 donation after the scandal came out. By 5 months. So
okay.
good job, buddy. Good fucking job. But yeah, the head of the Volt chapter in Paderborn resigned. It's a whole thing. The SPD had to make statements. Yeah, so that's fun.
What did the SPD? What do they think about Volt?
They use the term maximally irritated, obviously off Deutsch, but that's great. They're in coalition.
The SPD. Their dads are probably in the SPD.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am annoyed at my dumb fail son in Volt.
They're in coalition together, I think, in the Cologne city government. Volt and SPD.
I love when a family, a nice family business.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna be paying attention to how these guys do in the communal val. It's gonna be so fucking interesting. I'm gonna push back on them never being successful. I'm terrified of a Volt future. I mean, I look at Volt and I'm like, actually, this might be annoyingly feasible.
Okay, well let's hash it out. What does it mean for Volt to be feasible?
I mean, I don't know. I that's a whole other episode, and I think we're running out of time. But I do think they've tapped into, I would say, almost a failed prophecy on behalf of European bourgeois, European former nobility, and also this PMC kind of class, this professional managerial class kind of people, because it's I do think they're at this crossroads at the moment of what the fuck is the European Union meant to be?
Right.
We were told it would be this thing that we want it to be. And that's I understand that being attractive to people, because if you don't believe this is the direction the European Union is going in, it just feels incredibly stale and stagnant.
But what is their vision for the European Union? Because it seems to me to be just a positive self-talk about how we're good and we're innovative, and basically branding themselves so more people visit their startup, their Autorenwelt, read their dumb books. They just want they're grinding. They're at the convention, they're shaking hands, they're passing out business cards, and they want people to just notice them. But I don't know how that connects to European power or anything in the world.
I don't I think they have the most backwards view of what Europe is doing. They think they can change things from the EU level, not realizing that the nation states within the EU are more powerful than the EU government. They're like very anti-China and China's foreign policy, even though China kind of wants a united Europe and kind of wants like this whole multipolar world, or at least that's the stated position of China.
Xi Jinping getting in on the ground floor of Volt.
Yeah, right. But they're incredibly naive and also incredibly petty and backbiting weirdos, which leads me to my next thing, the last thing I'm going to talk about today, which is something that was also very incredibly buried. If you cast your mind back to the 2019 episode we did, I talked about like the 3 founders of Volt, Damien being one of them. They all come from McKinsey and Company. The other 2, we had like a French woman and an Italian guy. The French woman and the Italian guy were dating. Colombe is the French woman, and Andrea is the Italian guy. They left and started their own other thing.
Oh, wait, the 2 or all 3? Not Damien.
No, the 2. Damien's still in there because he got elected.
Yeah. So the other 2.
They started a thing called Atlas Movement, which has just shy of 6,000 followers on Twitter. You know, they're making the thing, and they're basically like trying to do like progressive, quote unquote, internationalism. Big supporters of like Hong Kong protests and Chitskanoya, or whatever her name is, I've forgotten her name, in Belarus, the YouTuber's wife, and that kind of thing. They broke away and joined their own thing. That crank Dutch journalist has gotten in Andrea Van Zon's like mentions trying to figure out why he left, and he does not give a sufficient answer. And the only thing that I can figure out, the only thing that I can match the timeline up to, is that Andrea Van Zon, the Italian guy founder, lost a leadership of Volt internal election to Damien, and then like a month later left with his girlfriend and started another party / movement / slush fund for, I don't know, open society money.
Yeah. That's the Atlas. This Atlas movement to me seems much more like, foot soldiers for, European, like the interest of European capitalists, like European foreign policy. Like under like progressivism is like fleshing out, not in a sense of like making more clear, but literally in the sense of just like shoveling more dirt into a bag to fill it out, what a progressive identity for Europe would be. Whereas Volt is like, it is like it is a new deal for fail nobility. It is like just something for them to do, which is why I'm not afraid of them as like asserting political power. I think they would be a barometer for just how like bereft of any actual agency like these like politics would have. Like I see Volt's like the more votes Volt get, and I guess we have to distinguish here between like the donors and the people running, and then like the kind of people, the kind of voter base that they would attract. But Volt to me seems to be like a direct sign of we are the part. We're not even like going to pretend that we're like doing solutions. We are just going to like it is like the facsimile of political organization. Like there'll be lots of movements and lots of chats and discords, and we're going to be putting out statements about what we support and what we don't support, and everyone can have their own opinion on what we don't support. And it's like fetishizing the actual like framework of European organization for the sake of European organization, and then doing nothing with it.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like I don't see it as like, oh, they're going to they're not going to, let's say, ramp up any more than anyone else, like the Fortress Europa, like the walls around Europe, or in more like that's not their job. Their job is to provide insulation, literally fat around the muscles of the players and the institutions and the powers that actually do that, which is why that's kind of what I meant, that Volt itself isn't like powerful, or I'm not scared of it in itself. I see it as a barometer for just how insulated the institutions, which do carry out the things that we want to change. Just how like they are just like waves of just fodder protecting it, a big moat.
Yeah. Massive opponents of Deutsche Wohnen und Kohlendeignung as well. I should also say.
Yeah, but like, what does that like? I've never seen that. Like, that's a great example because like they exist to be like. That's like their stated position. I don't know what they're doing on the ground to like hinder that movement. Maybe posting on Reddit. Which much. Like, yeah.
I mean,
it is really like I guess what I mean by Volt is it would absorb and sop up this kind of like all of everything you mentioned, like fail aristocrats and tech people with money and free time and like I'm going to do something political, and people who aren't necessarily in tech but have those same characteristics. Like I don't see them. I really think it's like the illusion of like it is like VR politics. Like you get to be part of a movement, you get to have this European identity, you get to say you're against Deutsche Wohnen und Kohlendeignung, but you are just cheering on the sideline while the housing companies actually do their part and the established political parties do their part to try to hinder that campaign. You are just a cheerleader.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what it means to be a member of Volt or like an active participant of Volt. But like on a structural level, I think they act as a bulwark to progressive or like decent movements, I should say. I'm not going to use the word progressive because it's so fucking loaded. It's very reminiscent of when you talked about like the progressiveness of the unionist parties or the parties in Israel, which were like incredibly pro-apartheid, incredibly status quo machines. It does strike me of that as like, this exists to stop you from voting for a better option. Because like the people who vote for Volt are people like, let's talk about the Deutsche Wohnen und Kohlendeignung and everything. Because fucking everywhere in this city is Volt posters being like, we're for social housing and we want to solve the housing crisis. Like in Red Vienna, like they don't say Red Vienna, but they say Vienna, and that's kind of like why Vienna is the way it is currently. They have like they're absolutely devoid of any historical context of what makes European countries the way they are. They just think they can just like copy and paste it into another country and it will work fine. But like
liking housing in Vienna is like liking paella in Spain. It's like that's what they're known for. It's we want the good stuff from all around Europe.
Pretty much. Like they might as well
Wien. We want housing.
Yeah, they just might as well just be talking about Sachertorte. It's like as useless as that. But like, how do you not see that poster and think without like, most people will not do the level of insane research that I've done or any research when they go vote. A lot of people we've encountered like, oh, I'm thinking of voting for Volt, have not done anything surface level, because if you did, you would find out they're opposed to Deutsche Wohnen und Kohlendeignung. And a lot of these people who we've encountered who say, oh yeah, I'm kind of thinking of voting for Volt, are people who support these things. Like they exist as a bulwark. I like to stop you from voting. Like, the thing that I find so frustrating about Volt in every country was you can't claim to be progressive. There was always a better option. Like I can understand people like Germany's a bit more complicated. Some people don't want to vote for Die Linke, fine. But like the Greens at least have a radical history. The SPD at least has Kevin Kuhnhardt. Like there are things that you can point to, or like the labor movement or whatever you want to call. There are things you can point to these other parties that Volt just doesn't have. And then like in the Netherlands, it was so much like worse. Like you voted for Volt over Bijeen. Like sure, you might think the Socialist Party is a bit crusty or whatever, and like old hat, and like is still stuck in the like 60s or 40s or 1920s or whatever. But like Bijeen existed as this new, clearly anti-racist, incredibly progressive movement within the Netherlands. Maybe a little too lib. That's the kind of like Socialist Party criticism of Bijeen. But you chose Volt over them. And that's like... And I guarantee you the people who voted for Volt, apart from people who were like really into the fucking party, or were like members of it or whatever, thought they were voting for something comparable to Bijeen.
Yeah, I think you know the wayward Volt voters more than I do. with your very Holden Caulfield, you're trying to catch them all before they go vote for Volt. Driving you crazy. It seems to me that what Volt, it's funny you bring up the Greens because Volt, this is maybe makes sense, which is the Greens are literally the party of branding. Like it almost doesn't matter what their policy is, and like it's extremely vague when you actually get down into like the
big time.
Because I know enough Germans who are like German, and then they're like, I'm going to read the entire program, even if they're not political. Like otherwise, they're like, oh, it's September 2021, time to read every party program, and they're like, the Greens aren't saying anything. Actually, Die Linke actually has a better green program than the Greens, but the Greens are the Greens by definition. They should be the Greens, and Volt is doing that. Like Volt is like, why don't you just do that for more things? Just be the Greens for Europe, and I almost can't. Like, if that works, that's such an indictment of politics and of like, what it means to have like, progressive politics that like, it's so empty already that it's like, I almost can't fault them for just like, for actually going through with it, like changing what an actual, let's say radical politics would be in this system is so much more to me than just like taking out Volt. Now, I think like demonstrating how Volt works is an incredible reflection, like a microcosm of how all of this works. That's why they're interesting to me. I guess that's my point. But I guess we're splitting hairs a little bit. We don't have any Volt voters listening, but if someone in your life is planning on voting Volt, just knock them out and dissect their brain. Send a little sample of their tissue to us so we can understand them.
Like Skylar from the hit mid-2000s, what was it, NBC show, Heroes.
Okay.
Do you remember Heroes?
I've never seen that. Like that TV show.
It was Prestige TV before Prestige TV. Anyway, we should wrap up because we have to go to the stream, and my laptop battery is doing weird shit that I need to sort out. I'm surprised it hasn't completely collapsed.
More Volt content coming soon.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Are we going to talk about Volt on the stream now? Actually,
we can.
Ciarán might talk about Volt on the stream. If you're listening to this, go back to our Twitch and look for
the VOD is still up.
Look for clips of Ciarán talking about Volt.
Yeah. All right. Ciao, everyone. See you on Monday.
Bye.
Bye. Wowie zowie, what a great episode. Okay, it's Ciarán. I'm back again to just remind people that I have talked more about Volt on the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/corner Späti. You can go check that out if you want. Regularly on the Twitch channel, we just do Euro vibes, which is watching a bunch of like insane European stuff from YouTube and having a good time and a bit of fun. So go and subscribe and donate and stuff that keeps us going or whatever. For anyone who's not into Twitch, that's fine. I will probably turn all my various loose thoughts about Volt and what they mean for what their position is in grander bourgeois society into a solo bonus episode at some point. That'll be fun. But I'm here at the end to remind you, 26th of September, which is in the Sunday coming when this was released, we will be doing a live show. Donau 115 on 115 Donaustrasse in Neukölln. If you're in Berlin or in Germany and willing to make the trip, it'd be great to see you. It should be a lot of fun. If not, we will be streaming it on the aforementioned Twitch channel, twitch.tv/corner Späti. 5:30 until late. Ciao, ciao.